Well, for more now, let's go live to Birmingham with global affairs analyst Scott Lucas. Scott, we just heard Emmanuel Macron there expressing his disapproval in what Trump did. Is that enough?
Well, no. I mean, in terms of the likely damage of what we're going to have, the U.S. decision pretty much confirms that the Israel-Palestinian peace process is dead. But in a wider sense, it could lead to instability throughout the region. Already, of course, you've had the announcement by Hamas talking about its version of the Intifada. Hezbollah could become more aggressive on Israel's border, and Iran's going to exploit this as well. And that is all destabilizing to what President Macron and France have been seeking, which is to try to be a more productive role, whether it's working with the Saudis, whether it's working in Lebanon or Syria. So no, a statement's not going to be enough. There's going to have to be concerted action by France, by other European countries, and especially by countries in the region to find a way forward after what Donald Trump has done.
Well, indeed, what might that way forward be? What can they do to counteract this?
Well, I think the first thing to do, of course, is to try to encourage all sides to refrain from some type of violent confrontation. We have to hope that there's no type of violence that breaks out when Israeli occupation forces meet Palestinian protesters. But in a wider sense, we have to make sure that there's no really encouragement, basically, of trying to stoke up the idea that confrontation is the way forward. I think it's going to require a lot of diplomatic negotiation. There is no one single actor that can step in and solve this. One thing that is confirmed this week, paradoxically, is that the United States is no longer the central power that can step in from outside and say, this is the way we order the Middle East. Those days are gone. So I think you're going to have a number of leaders and a number of communities that simply say, for right now, refrain from violence, and that at some point, we have to talk about a sensible line of discussion, a sensible line of division, which means that there's an Israeli-Palestinian settlement in which Jerusalem does not belong to one country. It's got to remain either an international city or clearly has both an Israeli and a Palestinian stake in it.
Well, do you think we can read anything into the language Donald Trump used? I mean, he didn't say the undivided capital of Israel. Could that be an out in any way, a loophole, or is the damage already done?
No, there's no out with Donald Trump. First of all, let's get past the fact that Donald Trump has any type of comprehension of these issues, which is actually what White House officials are admitting today as they try to row back on this declaration. Secondly, once you say that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, you have tilted the deck on the Israel-Palestine issue. Jerusalem's status as an international city had to be preserved until the final stage of negotiations. Trump has effectively thrown all of that up into the air. So there's no way he can repair the damage. I don't think there's any way that the U.S. State Department can repair the damage. That's why I say you've got to look to the United Nations. You've got to look to other countries, beginning to go step by step to talk about a way forward. Until the Trump administration is replaced in Washington, the United States will not play a constructive role in this process.
Were you surprised at the relatively muted criticism of Trump's decision from the international community? Should it have been stronger?
Well, no, I mean, even though everyone's horrified by the decision, just coming out and saying, this is horrible and Trump's a bad man doesn't give you anything positive on the way forward. I do think that you had some extraordinary remarks, although they were coded. So look at the Pope's concern as he expressed it. Look at the concern, for example, by a close American and Israeli ally, such as Jordan, who expressed their condemnation. I think beyond that, however, there's another reason for some of the muted statements. And let's make this clear, that Saudi Arabia, for example, has been working with Israel because their priority is not Palestine, but the Iran issue. And Saudi Arabia would very much hope to settle all this down, because they would hope that that private relationship with Israel is not broken apart, and the line against Iran is not broken apart, because all of a sudden we have a Palestine crisis. So that's why the Saudis, for example, will be more careful in their comments on the issue.
Scott, thank you for that. Scott Lucas speaking to us there from Birmingham in England. Thank you so much.